Good evening, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Vargas. We begin tonight in Washington with high-stakes diplomacy to end Vladimir Putin's bloody war in Ukraine. President Trump welcomed Ukrainian President Zelenskyy to the White House this afternoon. It was their fourth face-to-face meeting this year. And just moments ago, Trump told reporters that his meeting with Zelenskyy was cordial, and he called for the ending of the war at the current battle lines. Now, Trump and Zelenskyy last spoke on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly last month. And since then, President Trump has brokered a hugely significant ceasefire in the Middle East. Zelenskyy says that achievement gives him hope that Trump can end Putin's war as well.
My congratulations with your successful ceasefire in the Middle East.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you did it. And I think this is the momentum to finish Russia's war against Ukraine. I think that, yes, we understand that Putin is not ready. I think not ready, but I think that I'm confident that with your help, we can stop this war.
Now, part of the agenda in today's talks were the American-made long-range Tomahawk missiles. Zelensky's been pressing Trump for months to get them. They have long-range capability, more than 1,000 miles, capable of striking deep within Russia from Ukraine, and they would be a major game-changer for Kyiv. Zelenskyy today even offered Trump a deal to get them.
The United States has Tomahawks and other missiles, very strong missiles, but they can have our thousands of drones. That's why we can work together.
Thousands of Ukrainian drones. Now, Russia has warned that supplying Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles would cross a, quote, major red line. And despite signaling that he may do so, today, Trump said he'd rather end the war before it ever comes to that.
We need Tomahawks, so we need a lot of other weapons that we're sending to Ukraine. One of the reasons we want to get this war over is exactly that. Hopefully they won't need it. Hopefully we'll be able to get the war over with without thinking about Tomahawks. I think we're fairly close to that.
Now, this meeting today came after President Trump had what he called a highly productive phone call with Vladimir Putin yesterday. Trump says he and Putin will have another face-to-face summit in the coming weeks, this time in Hungary. Of course, nothing came out of the first summit meeting in Alaska in August. None of Trump's goals were achieved. And President Trump acknowledged today that Putin might be playing him.
I've been played all my life by the best of them, and I came out really well. So it's possible, yeah, a little time. It's all right. But I think that I'm pretty good at this stuff. I think that he wants to make a deal.
All right, let's get reaction now from our panel. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb is an international military strategist and a nearly 30-year Army veteran and Black Hawk pilot. And retired Army Brigadier General Mark Kimmett served as the Assistant Secretary of State for Political and Military Affairs under President George W. Bush. Great to have both of you with us. General, I'm going to start with you. Trump, just a few moments ago on the tarmac after landing, said that Russia and Ukraine should just stop fighting and keep the current battle lines as final. Listen to what he said.
I met with President Zelenskyy, as you know, today, and we had a very good meeting, very cordial meeting. In my opinion, they should stop the war immediately. You go by the battle line wherever it is, otherwise it's too complicated.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Zelenskyy seemed to post on social media that he agreed. That's significant, isn't it?
Well, I really think it is. I mean, what you're essentially saying is we are going to turn the Donbass into a frozen conflict. We see that between Pakistan and India and Kashmir. We see that between North Korea and South Korea on their demarcation line. It's not a bad option because it would appear at this point that neither Russia nor Ukraine are going to achieve their war goals.
But, Colonel, does that mean perhaps, I mean, first of all, is there any chance at all that Vladimir Putin would agree to such a thing?
Well, he could, because his economy has been driven by the war for this last 4 years, and it's getting a little bit worse over time. So he may see that this is the best he's going to get, and it's really all he ever really wanted in the first place. With winter coming, there's no need to go moving on into more offensive operations with the intent to try to capture more land. They're not moving very far, very fast anyways. This is about where I expected it would end at some point, would be along existing battle lines with a line that would run basically from Odessa up to Kursk in the northeast. So this is not a surprise. I think it's the best option on the table right now. I am surprised Zelenskyy would say that he was willing to agree to that, because the entire time so far, he's been very obstinate about making sure that not a single inch of Ukrainian soil is ceded over to Russia for any reason.
Right, that jumped out at me as well. He also, the Ukrainian population, by most polls, show overwhelmingly do not want to give up their territory to Russia. So there's that as well. But in the meantime, he was in the White House today, General, to plead with Trump to give him these Tomahawk missiles. I don't know about you, but based on what I watched that entire meeting that was broadcast on live television, it does not look like Trump is going to give him those Tomahawks anytime soon.
Well, I don't necessarily agree. If Trump was to give those Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine straight away, he'd get nothing in return from Putin. By saying that you're not going to get the Tomahawk missiles right now, that gives President Trump a little bit of leverage with President Putin at next month's summit.
Something to hold over him.
Where he can hold over him and say, look, if you don't give me what I want, I will give Ukraine the Tomahawk. So he's using, in my mind, as trade bait.
Colonel, Zelenskyy says these Tomahawks are crucial for Ukraine to fight back because they're long range and they can hit deep in Russia. Putin has said that this would be an escalation, but hasn't Putin been firing long-range cruise missiles into Ukraine for years, hitting hospitals and schools? How would the Tomahawks do anything but maybe even out the battle?
Well, and that's part of the problem, is because by evening out the battle, you're actually extending this war. And that's why I certainly hope the Tomahawks is just a negotiating tactic and not something we would ever actually fulfill, because all you're doing then is giving it an excuse to continue the war, not end it. But certainly Russia has been striking deep inside Ukraine, essentially on a punishment mission against the Ukraine in general and the people, the energy infrastructure, and you name it. Ukraine has also, by the way, done this against Russia using drones and other capabilities. So there's no doubt in my mind that Zelenskyy is perfectly willing to use such weapon systems to reach even deeper into Russia. But at this point, do we really want to do something that might cause this war to just continue rather than actually end it? So again, hopefully this is just a negotiation tactic and it ends mostly there.
So it sounds like you don't think giving the Tomahawks to the Ukrainians is a good idea.
I don't think it's a good idea, and I don't think and we also know we don't need drones from Ukraine. That would not be a good exchange either.
General, what do you think? Do you agree with that?
Well, candidly, no. I mean, the fact remains is that Russia has put the pain on Ukraine for the last 3 years inside of Ukraine. The people of Russia have not felt the pain that the people of Ukraine have. It may end up, as we talked about, with a line inside the Donbass. But candidly, as somebody who sort of looked out over the East German border for many, many years in the Cold War, it's a horrible thing to say, but I'd like to see Russia experience as much pain before this ends as the Ukrainians have.
Meantime, General, we have heard several times today in this meeting with Zelenskyy, President Trump talked about how much he gets along with Vladimir Putin. He spoke for more than 2 hours on the phone with him just yesterday. Many Russia experts say this is a classic KGB tactic. This is what the New York Times writes today. Putin has spent hours flattering Trump and dangling the prospect of Russian-American business deals. The tactic has helped Putin head off repeated deadlines and sanction threats by Trump. The director of the Carnegie Russia Center said, quote, Putin hasn't wasted any time learning how to massage Trump's ego. But then we heard this afternoon the president of the White House say, yeah, he might be playing me. I've been played all my life, and look where I am now.
Yeah, if that's a question to me, I would say that I would also go over to Israel. There hasn't been a president since 1947 who has pushed as hard as Benjamin Netanyahu as President Trump. So people would say for years and years, our presidents have been played by Benjamin Netanyahu. But when things really got tough, it was President Trump that put him in a corner and said, we need to have a ceasefire between Israel and Gaza. So I think that I would hope, and I'm not necessarily, well, let me put it this way, I'm a centrist Republican, but candidly, I'd say let's not talk about the last chapter until we get there.
All right. As someone has said, you know, if you can box Bibi Netanyahu into a corner and force a deal, maybe you can box Putin into a corner and force a deal. But at some point, you know, I don't know how many times you meet with Putin and come out empty-handed. That is the question. General Mark Kimmett, Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb, thank you both so much for your analysis. Appreciate it tonight. In the meantime, speaking of the Middle East, 20 former hostages, it's their first weekend safe in Israel after 2 years in Hamas captivity. But for 19 other families, there's still an agonizing wait for the bodies of their loved ones to be returned from Gaza and from Hamas captivity. Tonight, one of those families is reportedly getting some closure. There is word that there is another body being released into Israel at this hour. The remains of one of the last hostages coming home. Hamas is under huge pressure to comply with President Trump's ceasefire agreement and to turn over all of the hostage remains. Heavy machinery was seen searching the rubble in Han Yunis today, looking for bodies believed to be Israelis killed while they were in Gaza, Israeli hostages. Earlier, Hamas, in a statement, urged all parties to fully implement the terms of the deal. They specifically pushed for more aid and supplies to rebuild hospitals, schools, and public buildings. Hamas's call for cooperation comes after that graphic video showed militants publicly executing civilians it says collaborated with Israel. Reports say this was just one example of deadly violence in Gaza at the hands of Hamas in the past week. You may remember the following gruesome scenes. President Trump warned that if those killings continue, quote, we will have no choice but to go in and kill them. He later clarified that no American troops would be involved. So as we approach the 1 week mark since the pivotal ceasefire was signed, will Hamas stop murdering Palestinians? And when will all the rest of the hostages' remains come home? Joining us now is John Spencer, Urban Warfare Institute Executive Director and co-founder. John, great to have you back on the show. Why is it taking, Hamas said we can't find any more bodies because we need special equipment, presumably to dig beneath the rubble. And yet it feels like, you know, this was supposed to have happened within 72 hours of the ceasefire, and we are a week into the ceasefire, and there are still many bodies that have not been returned.
Hi, Elizabeth. It's great to be with you again. Yeah, there's no surprise to Hamas, to be honest, although I'm surprised that we got to where we were. There's a lot of people that are apprehensive that even Hamas would release the living hostages. And every day as the pressure has built, they seem to find hostages. Now, there could be, but there were estimates before even the ceasefire was signed or the 20-point plan of how many were really known versus the locations hard to get to. And there have been countries who volunteered to send search and rescue people that are expert in that to go get them. I don't know about the question of will they find them all rapidly. The pressure's definitely on them while they make their plans, as we have seen with these killings across the Gaza Strip, to be honest. And I've seen more videos, awfulness of it. But there is so much work being done simultaneously. Of course, at the very highest of that is returning these bodies home so their families can grieve, Israel can get past this awful chapter of the hostage holding that Hamas has been doing.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about these killings that Hamas is conducting. I mean, it is unbelievable when you see these videos. We have interviewed this week people who have friends or family inside Gaza who are saying that Hamas is going through people's social media feeds, looking for anybody who might have said something in the last couple of years on Facebook that might be seen as pro-Israel or not anti-Israel enough. And those people are being dragged out of their homes and questioned. And then you have scenes like the one we're playing here, where there's a mass execution.
And that's center of Gaza City, and they want it taped and they want it air. There is no end to this evil terror group, and they say that they're targeting collaborators, like you said, anybody who they think for any reason was collaborating or not on their side. There's also rivalries of the families, since there were multiple families who stood up during this in southern Gaza, central Gaza, even Gaza City, who said, I'm not Hamas, as the war continued. And I don't think this is going to stop, to be honest. Hamas is violently trying to assert its control back on the population that it was losing because of the IDF pressure, international support for the IDF pressure. But there's already talk of creating safe zones where the population could go to within that 50+% yellow area that the IDF controls. I think that's a great ideal and something that's shown in the past.
Yeah, because it's worth remembering here that in the recent months, there had been enormous pressure from Palestinians in Gaza for Hamas to stop. There had been increasingly people who were openly protesting Hamas. I'm sure many of those people are absolutely terrified if they're still alive tonight. What do you make of Hamas calling for help from international countries to rebuild public infrastructure like hospitals and schools? These are places, hospitals and schools, that Hamas built their tunnel network underneath. I mean, yes, Gaza needs hospitals and schools and homes and food, but you look at everything that Hamas does and says with suspicion, because what's in it for them and what's in it for preserving this tunnel network that you know so much about?
Absolutely. And having been in Gaza City just last week, I mean, it's pervasive. People don't understand. You're not going to rebuild anything until you address that subterranean, even from just to rebuild on top of it. And Hamas in the 20-point plan has no role. So this is an emotional plea to we're supporting the population as they're killing the population, as they're showing their true colors. Then they'll do this side of the coin plea on the emotional aspect of it. There is all kinds of work to rebuild in Gaza that is being set by other actors that aren't Hamas. Hamas will have no role in the governance, infrastructure, education, anything in the Gaza Strip again. And they're doing this to try to get that foot in the door, make it so they say they're the only ones that can secure a force to rebuild anywhere. We just want to start the rebuilding. They just want power. Reconstruction is power. Aid is power. They're all about what's in it for them and their ideals about surviving. And if there's any peace for the Palestinian people, there can be no Hamas.
Yeah. All right. John Spencer, with the grim situation. I'm just curious. You said you were just in Gaza City last week. What was it like? Very quickly.
It was a lot of destruction. I mean, clearly a lot of destruction. It was pervasive. It was heavy fighting by guerrilla forces who still didn't acknowledge that they had been defeated. They were popping out of their tunnels was their main tactic. So like you said, the scale of that problem alone, let alone the disarming that President Trump even talked about, is so giant that it's hard for people to comprehend, but it's not impossible to address.
All right, John Spencer, always really great to get your perspective. It's a very experienced one with firsthand experience, obviously, just being there. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
All right, we've got some breaking news just in the last hour. Former New York Congressman George Santos, who was serving 87 months in federal prison for wire fraud and identity theft, just got a commutation by President Trump. The president posted on social media that Santos was merely, quote, rogue, one of many throughout our country that aren't forced to serve 7 years in prison. He added George had been in solitary confinement for long stretches of the time and by all accounts has been horribly mistreated. Therefore, I just signed a commutation releasing George Santos from prison immediately. Good luck, George. Have a great life. End quote. Santos was found to have embezzled campaign donor funds for his personal use. He was buying a lot of fancy clothes for himself. He fraudulently obtained COVID jobless benefits while fully employed. And while not a crime, Santos is known to be a compulsive liar. He claimed to have been a financier at Goldman Sachs. Not true. He famously claimed to be Jewish and then walked it back, saying he was slightly Jew-ish. Then he claimed he ran a pet charity when all he did was raise $3,000 for a sick dog, which turned out to be completely healthy. But all that is in the past. It is a new day for George Santos. So in the words of President Trump, good luck, George. Have a great life. Meanwhile, in Maryland, former National Security Advisor John Bolton pleaded not guilty today to charges of mishandling classified information. Bolton appeared for his arraignment at a federal courthouse a day after a grand jury indicted him on 18 counts, 10 for unlawful retention of national defense information and 8 for transmitting it through his personal emails and a messaging app. DOJ prosecutors accused Bolton of sharing more than 1,000 pages of sensitive information with 2 relatives, reportedly his wife and his daughter. Bolton allegedly sent them diary-like notes detailing his day-to-day work as President Trump's national security advisor in 2018 and 2019. He is also accused of stashing boxes of documents, some of them marked top secret, at his Maryland home. FBI agents raided that home back in August. Bolton has denied all wrongdoing, maintaining he would never compromise America's national security. If convicted, Bolton could spend the rest of his life in prison. He is due back in court on November 21st. All right, coming up for us, fireworks at a fiery debate between candidates for mayor of America's biggest city. Was Zoran Mamdani's momentum stopped, or is New York City poised to elect the first Democratic socialist as mayor? We've got more after the break.
The Assemblyman said is he has no experience.
What I don't have in experience, I make up for in integrity. And what you don't have in integrity, you could never make up for in experience.
Yes.
Democratic Socialist and New York City mayoral candidate Zoran Mamdani took center stage at a fiery, heated, and at times bitter debate Thursday night. He was flanked by his 2 rivals, Democrat-turned-independent Andrew Cuomo and Republican Curtis Sliwa. Now, many Republicans were no doubt taking notes as Cuomo did land a few significant broadsides exposing what some are saying are Mamdani's critical weaknesses, namely his stances on Hamas and on policing.
He thinks the police are racist, wicked, corrupt, and a threat to public safety.
Thank you.
Those are his words.
Very quick. Mr. Mamdani, very quick.
Look, Andrew Cuomo is a politician of the past, and all he can speak about are the tweets of the past in 2020. Those are tweets which I have apologized for to New Yorkers and police officers directly.
Zoran Mamdani tried to make a few viral moments of his own, namely this one here, accusing Andrew Cuomo of being ignorant about the city's Muslim population.
He had more than 10 years, and he couldn't name a single mosque at the last debate we had that he visited. And what Muslims want in this city is what every community wants and deserves. They want equality, and they want respect.
And that is totally false. I worked with the Muslim community for many years.
Name a single mosque you went to when you were the governor. Can you name a single mosque you went to in 10 years?
Before you were ever here.
Before I was here.
All right, as that debate was happening, a Calshi billboard in Manhattan was broadcasting live trades on who will be the next New York City mayor. The chances of a Mamdani win ticked up today to 89%. It had been 87 before the debate. Joining me now, Jeff Colton, reporter and co-author of Politico's New York Playbook. Politico helped sponsor the debate last night. And Seth Barron, author and associate editor of New York Post's editorial board. Gentlemen, great to have you both here. All right, Jeff, I'm going to start with you since you guys were involved in the debate. It was bitter and combative, but the big question is, did it move the needle in any direction? Except on Calshi, apparently, by 2 points.
Exactly. And, you know, the problem here is that, yes, Mamdani is ahead by double digits in every single poll. I mean, the latest Fox News poll that came out yesterday has Mamdani leading Cuomo by something like 24 points. Oh. So these debates are won at the margins. They're about flipping voters to your side. I mean, Cuomo needed a really big swing here if he wants to have a chance of defeating Mamdani. And I simply didn't see that. You know, there's about half the city right now that doesn't like Mamdani and that is not willing to support him. But I just didn't see Cuomo doing enough to flip those voters and to bring them onto his side.
What do you think, Seth?
I would agree. I don't think that this moved the needle very much. Maybe there's a few people here and there who are undecided and made up their mind, but it seems like Mamdani pretty much has this wrapped up.
And you and your editorial page have pointed out repeatedly that Mamdani's made several promises that make no sense. Promises like free buses and promises like free, state, grocery stores that will be subsidized by the city,
right.
Free childcare. There's a lot of free stuff in his platform, which sounds really good. Freezing rents sounds really good. The problem is he can't do most of it, or it would have a terrible effect on the city, you argue?
Yeah, I think so. I think freezing the rents on most of the rent-regulated housing stock in the city is between, it's at least 50 years old and up to like 130 years old. It's massively expensive to maintain this up to like good standards. And he keeps saying that, no, the landlords are getting record profits. But he's talking, the people who are profiting very, very well are the, developers of luxury buildings.
Right.
The owners of rent-regulated tenements and so forth, they're not doing that.
But what about raising taxes? He keeps saying, I'm going to raise the taxes on the wealthy. He can't do that.
He can't do that. That has to go through Albany, although he does have Governor Hochul and the heads of the Assembly and the Senate on his side now. So he may well get the taxes passed. As far as like the buses go, he keeps saying that the one good reason to make the buses free is because it'll reduce assaults on bus drivers. Well, why not make everything free? And then no one will be mugged because they'll just give it up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd like him to work on the subways myself. Jeff, usually when a candidate has a healthy lead, like Mamdani does, they play it safe. It was very striking last night that he aggressively attacked Cuomo, accusing him of lacking integrity, of being clueless about the affordability crisis in New York. He even at one point, that was Curtis Sliwa. But what did you make of the fact that he was so fiery and did go after Cuomo so aggressively?
I was surprised. Yes, I actually expected him to kind of shrink back and just let this happen and hold on to his lead. But no, he really did attack. I think part of that is just his demeanor. I mean, his entire political career has been one of an underdog and as an outsider in the legislature. And he's very comfortable with attacking mainstream Democrats and those in power. So I think that was part of it. And, I do wonder if he's really trying to get that extra few percent to break 50%. There's been a lot of focus in this race on whether Mamdani will actually get a majority of the vote in this race, which is effectively with 3 people between him, Cuomo, and Sliwa, or whether Mamdani would win with just a plurality of the vote. So I think some of this could be in order to have more of a mandate so he can say that I won a majority and try to flip some potential Cuomo voters or undecideds here.
In the meantime, Seth, Cuomo needed a breakout moment. Most observers think he didn't get it.
I didn't really see him getting one either.
Yeah.
No.
He wasn't able to. He tried to land some lines. They didn't particularly seem to work. Then we had Curtis Sliwa, the Republican candidate, and Jeff. He's the Republican candidate for mayor that our Republican president has dismissed as, quote, unserious. Interestingly, Sliwa also attacked Cuomo. He did so more than he attacked Mamdani, I guess because they're both going after the same moderate conservative voters. He hit Governor Cuomo on his sexual harassment allegations, on his handling of the pandemic, and even hit below the belt by bringing up Cuomo's father, the legendary Mario Cuomo, saying, I knew Mario Cuomo, you're no Mario Cuomo. That was pretty harsh.
It was. I mean, first of all, Sliwa is an entertainer. He has been an AM radio host for something like 40 years. So I guess it shouldn't surprise us that he was entertaining so many people on the debate stage last night. He's a wonderful talker. Now, that said, Cuomo's only path to victory here is to minimize Sliwa and to make Sliwa basically not a factor at all and to totally win the anti-Mamdani vote. Cuomo was furious last night and again today that Sliwa was attacking him. He was hoping that they could both team up against Mamdani and weaken the front runner. So Cuomo even went on the radio today. He went on Sliwa's radio station, WABC, and he slammed him and he made an appeal. And he said, Republicans You might want to vote for the Republican nominee. You might want to vote for Sliwa, but don't. If you're a vote for Sliwa is a vote for Mamdani, he said. Please vote for me if you want to defeat Mamdani. It was a fascinating appeal, actually.
Yeah. Seth, is it going to work?
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of Republicans who are going to vote for the Republican and don't like Cuomo.
Okay. Well, and hello, Mayor Mamdani.
It seems that way.
Yeah, all right. Great to have you, Jeff Colton, Seth Barron. We will watch and see. It's quite a race. All right, coming up for us. The future of dating is upon us. People are using AI now to look up everything. And now OpenAI is ready to serve up answers to those searching for love. What could possibly go wrong with ChatGPT as your next romantic partner? That's next. So imagine you get a text message with an image showing a homeless man wandering around the inside of your house, and you're not home. The pictures show a disheveled-looking man sitting on your couch, going through your fridge, even lying on your bed. It all looks very, very real, except it isn't. It's a new prank that police are warning about tonight that is going viral. It's called AI Homeless Man Prank, to state the obvious. This video, created by one of our sister stations, shows the fake homeless man pranksters created using images and using artificial intelligence. So you make the images, even video, and you send it to your friends and relatives, telling them intruders are in their home, all to see their reaction and get a laugh at their expense. Except the prank is not funny to police. It's dangerous. That's the warning from the Yonkers Police Department in New York. In this social media post, an image of a homeless man at a precinct was added to make their point. He may look real, but he's not. The city of Fountain Hills in California also warned about the prank. The two cities are among a growing number across the country whose police departments have been hit with 911 calls about home intruders. So they've all rushed over in squad cars in response, only to find out they were AI pranked. Police say the calls waste department resources and could put people in danger. They add, if you get a text like this, ask questions, call your family before you call police. And if that didn't make you worried enough about artificial intelligence, there is this. ChatGPT, the most popular AI chatbot in the world, will soon be expanding its mostly professional subscriber base into something far more personal, offering adult-only services to its subscribers. Verified adult users will be able to have erotic chats with a tech bot. The future versions of the bot will also behave more human-like, according to the company. The move marks a major shift for OpenAI, the company that created ChatGPT. Company policy has restricted sexual content in the past. But founder Sam Altman says the company is now ready to treat adult users like adults. Altman adds they are expanding safeguards to keep minors out and protections that would mitigate mental health risks. But some say this is all just a new take on the old adage of sex sells, and that Altman is trying to attract more paying subscribers for his revenue-strapped bot. Popular as it is, ChatGPT is still losing more money than it makes. So adding X-rated subscribers makes sense. But could this already be a saturated market? Research shows that there are 29 million active users of AI chatbots designed specifically for romantic or sexual bonding. So, is there room for ChatGPT? For more on all of this is Briony Cole, who joins us. She's a researcher and expert on AI intimacy and companionship. She's the host of the Future of Sex podcast. Okay, I'm not even sure how this works. What happens when you're having an erotic conversation with a chatbot?
Well, it mimics, texting with a friend or a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It's very much simulating the intimacy that we experience with our partners through text. But the difference is it's synthetic, right? It's just a machine behind there, and soon it'll be synthetic images and videos and even video calls with these AI companions that feel real and feel like you're in a relationship.
All right, Sam Altman says that they have safeguards in place to make sure that they're addressing mental health problems. Remember, there's been a spate of stories and headlines about AI psychosis, people, you know, losing touch with reality because they're spending so much time bonding with an AI chatbot. Does anyone really think that they've solved the emotional and psychological problems from someone going down the chatbot rabbit hole?
I don't think anyone's solved it yet. I think we're in this middle of not really knowing what's going on, the Wild West, where we're seeing people are over-relying on AI or over-attaching and becoming dependent on it, particularly vulnerable populations, right? Children, the elderly, people with learning difficulties. And it's there where we don't really know what's going to happen. And we've seen these tragic incidents, right? Whether it's the crimes or suicide because, or psychosis, because people are relating to the AI as if it were, you know, a human, when in fact it's not. So there's no, you know, in the recent laws through California, we'll see in 2 years' time, we'll have public health data on what actually is going on with AI companions. But 2 years away is kind of too far for me, at least, to really understand the impact. Yeah.
I mean, you know, Altman says, oh, kids won't be allowed, teenagers won't be allowed to, you know, to get on this and have erotic conversations with their chatbot. But Mark Cuban, for one, isn't buying it. Mark Cuban says this is going to backfire hard. No parent is going to trust that their kids are going to be age-gated from doing this.
Yeah, it's, you know, it feels a bit like the toothpaste is out of the tube here. Like, sure, we can put these parental controls and age verification on it, and that's pretty much the best that they can do. But kids and teenagers they'll always find a way to work around and get what they want out of it, much like we've seen with social media and Facebook before. So I don't think, I actually don't think a ban on this is either going to solve it anyway. So it's more figuring out, how do we educate people? How do we educate kids and ourselves really about what it looks like to have AI intimacy or see sexual content on AI and just know, hey, that's not real. That's the fake stuff.
Yeah, I mean, right now we have social anxiety, social isolation is such a huge issue right now in this country. And now this is one more thing, you know, you don't have to go to a bar or a restaurant or a party to flirt. You can do it now with your chatbot, you know, all alone in a room. Yeah. Ugh. Okay.
Right. There's millions of us going to bed, talking to ChatGPT and waking up. And that's the first conversation we have, and really losing our ability to have, spontaneous conversations or even arguments because ChatGPT is so sycophantic, it'll mirror exactly what you want.
Brioni, we'll have you back on the show. This story is not going to go away. It's fascinating to talk about it with you. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
You know, what could go wrong? Everything. Anyway, coming up, traders are putting their money on who they think will be Time's Person of the Year. Could it be President Trump? How about the new Pope from Chicago? Or maybe it's not a person at all. We'll tell you who the smart money is betting on. Millions of unpaid federal employees want to know when exactly the government shutdown will end. No one in Washington seems to know. Most Republicans aren't even in Washington. And online prediction markets think the shutdown will drag on for a while yet. NewsNation's Hannah Doba takes a closer look with this week's Smart Money.
Prediction markets are speaking, and in three very different ways. They're capturing the national mood faster than the polls or the pundits. Let's start in Virginia, where the attorney general race is getting more intense after the two candidates clashed in a high-stakes debate.
I am ashamed, I am embarrassed, and I'm sorry. If you're really sorry, you wouldn't be running.
Kalshi traders have Republicans at around 65%, Democrats at 35%.
That's incumbent Attorney General Jason Miyares holding the lead. And the chart shows a sharp swing right after new fundraising headlines hit. Now, why it matters? Well, Virginia's wealthy, highly educated suburbs are often a national bellwether on crime and rights issues. And here again, Kalshi's markets moved days before the polling averages adjusted.
But you have no choice but to vote for me.
Now over to the cultural front. Traders are betting AI, yes, artificial intelligence itself, is the front runner for Time's 2025 Person of the Year, sitting at 36% ahead of Pope Leo and Donald Trump. That says a lot. It's not a person shaping the year's story, it's technology. And when markets start treating code like a global leader, you know where the world's attention really is. And finally, Washington.
We're on day 17 of the government shutdown, and traders are forecasting we have 20 more days to go.
That's up sharply this week with more than $10 million traded. That means traders are losing confidence in a quick deal long before Congress admits it publicly.
All right, it's Friday night at the end of a very, very busy news week, and there'll be a lot of news this weekend. Chris Cuomo joins us now. Chris, you've got an interesting take on these massive No Kings protests that are set to take place around the country tomorrow, sparking a lot of controversy, but also supposedly going to be some pretty big crowds.
Of course, they're going to be big crowds. Remember where we are. MAGA, grievance about the system not working for you, but working against you, right? Mm-hmm. And the pendulum swings, as it always does in our politics, because we're locked in a binary system, right? So now where are we now? An equal and angry reaction formation to that. And the people aren't wrong about what is wrong. We have a big affordability crisis. Yeah. And yes, the rich win. And yes, their money fuels the parties, so they get a preference. It's true. And protest is a signature of our democracy. Here's my concern. There is such an appetite for political violence right now. One side wants the other to be violent so badly because it's the ultimate way to show they're wrong. That's what worries me.
Yeah.
You know, not the protest itself. I'm all for protest, okay? Great. Just don't touch person or property, or though now it's not a protest, it's a riot and you're a criminal. But they want to weaponize it. They're doing it now. And I know that's crazy given how January 6th was mitigated by the same people who are now exacerbating what could happen here. I get it. People just need to see that, and that's why they watch you.
All right. Well, that's why they are tuning in tonight to hear your take on that. Have a great show. Have a great weekend. And congrats again on an amazing town hall. Loved your moment with the air traffic controller turned DoorDash delivery guy last night. That was an amazing moment you made happen.
Jack Chris made the moment happen. He is a real man, and his daughter is one of the best basketball players in the country.
Oh, my God.
You know that. I mean, because, you know, Elizabeth's got these amazing athletes. You know, her one son, who's gorgeous, is also an amazing hoop
You better say they're both gorgeous, Chris. Yeah, you got to go, because otherwise I'm going to get it. Yeah, all right. Have a great weekend.
They're both gorgeous. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.